Hello, it's Zoë Routh here, and welcome to 2026. It's been a red hot minute in podcast land, but here we are, and I have lots of news for you. My question for you this week is, how are you feeling? Well, as for me, I'm going through what can only be described as a chrysalis, or I've come to decide that's what I'm going to call it. And there'll be more on that in the show. In fact, it'll be a major theme for the next 8 weeks. In the meantime, let's get into it. So I paused the show for 6 months. I can't believe it's been 6 months. There has been a lot happening. There was too much happening for me. And I felt everything was more by default than by design. So I just needed to press pause on everything. So here we are, and we have lots of news. Now, the first thing is my latest book, Olympus Dawn, which is the fourth book in the Gaia series, is out now on Kickstarter. The link is in the show notes. You click on over there, and for the next 48 hours, you can be, if you're one of the first backers, as in you pre-ordered the book, either ebook, audiobook, or paperback, there is a special digital reward for you. Yes, the first backers will get a founding crew electronic badge. So cool. This is the grand finale in the story where the crew is on a mad mission to Mars to beat Lincoln Nelson, the resident bad guy, for control of the Red Planet and therefore the subsequent control of Earth. It's a high stakes game, plenty of stuff going on there, and it's the culmination of the last 4 years and the last four books coming together in the grand standoff. So that is Olympus Dawn, available now on Kickstarter. Very exciting. I'm going to read an excerpt later for you, so stay tuned for that. Now, this show, The Future of Leadership, I've decided to do it in seasons on topics that feel relevant and inspiring to me and useful for you. And in this first season, we are exploring transformation, personal leadership through transformation, and I'm calling it the Chrysalis Concept. Let me tell you about what a chrysalis is, and I think this will help make more sense of why I'm making this the chrysalis themed. What happens when a butterfly, well, how does a butterfly come into being? If you remember your elementary school training about this, it's an amazing process. So a caterpillar, actually, I don't even know how caterpillars are formed. Do they come out of eggs? I'll have to look that up later. Caterpillar, anyway, eats a lot of leaves, and when it's eaten its fill, like and it's ready, it attaches itself to a little stick, and it sheds its skin for a final time, and underneath the skin is a hard casing called a chrysalis. It's similar to a cocoon in that moths, what they do is they spin a silk web around their pupa, and that creates a similar type of container. Now, the chrysalis is shiny and jewel-like. And what happens inside that, the body of the caterpillar completely dissolves and then restructures itself into a butterfly. It's one of the most amazing things to happen in nature, I reckon. This kind of like you went from one entity into a completely different thing. When the structure of the butterfly has assembled itself into new cells and new functions with wings, etc., then it struggles through breaking out of the chrysalis, and in doing so, it pumps fluid into its wings. So that struggle phase is pretty important for the butterfly in order to fill its wings and become strong. If you decide you want to help the little butterfly through its chrysalis experience, you will in effect cripple it because it won't have had the benefit of the struggle to push fluid into its wings. Once it gets out, it suns itself to dry off a bit, and then away it goes in its butterfly life. The transformation is magical, and the metaphor is powerful. And it's a cliche because it is such a powerful story of transformation. Now, what has this got to do with leadership? Plenty. As a leader, you might be moving towards or in a chrysalis process if you are having an identity shift after success or burnout. You kind of reach a pinnacle or a bottom out somewhere, and you're kind of thinking, who am I? What's going on? What's next? You might have a values realignment or wanting to do values realignment after a scalding or uplifting experiences. So big trauma or big exhilaration can cause us to reassess what's most important to us. Along with that, our definition of worth and success might actually need dissolving and changing. Or maybe you're preparing for work that hasn't been named or identified yet, but you just know there's something else calling to you. In many others that I have spoken to, the stories are things like I've been a CEO for 15 years. What's next for me? I want to continue to contribute. Or maybe you're going through the indie experience. I love this. I am not done yet, indie. Maybe you've been sidelined as an older worker, and that comes as a surprise to you because you have years and passion within you still, and you still want to make a contribution, but others have decided that you're too old for what's happening. And we'll have a guest on the show later, Dan Pontefract, who's got a lot to say about the aging workforce. And I'm excited about that interview to come up for you. Okay, so the other stories are maybe work's not lighting you up anymore. Well, as for me, the default of my work felt, well, my work felt more like default than by design. And things were not lighting me up in the same way. So I just stopped doing a bunch of stuff to give me space. And this felt like relief and an easing and exactly what I wanted. I didn't want any more of the hard charging, pressurized experience of running my own leadership development business that I've had for 20 years. So I was exploring this idea of being a full-time author and what that looks like and feels like. And what it looks like and feels like is not writing full-time because that's not how the business works. And that's not all my interests anyway. I discovered that I miss podcasting. I miss connecting. I miss sharing. I miss learning. So all of that is being woven into a tapestry of which I don't know what the final picture is. And that's part of being in a chrysalis, is that there's a lot of unknown and uncertainty. I had a lot of malaise as I was going through this process as well. So I held all this intentions of what's next for me fairly loosely, especially as we were undergoing the move to Newcastle. On the surface, this looked like just a simple relocation. We're changing cities. And it felt like anything but just a process. It felt quite moving. We were leaving a house that we'd designed and lived in and loved to an apartment, which we hadn't designed and wasn't ours necessarily. Like we bought it 5 years ago, but we hadn't put our stamp on it the way that we had our house. So there's a change of life stage as well. We've gone from being house owners and being responsible for a property and a garden and where we had our chooks and where we had a whole life for 20 plus years into an apartment where we're just starting afresh, learning how to live with less. And hinting at all of that, it was this idea of later stage adulthood of retirement. My husband has flagged he's retiring next year, and he is going more the traditional route when it comes to retirement. As for me, I don't know what retirement is for me. I don't know if retirement is actually a concept I'm going to embrace because I am a creative, service-oriented human, and I'm definitely in the I'm not done yet category. I still have things to learn and do and share and contribute. And retirement feels like a shutting down. In fact, the whole process of what people have been calling downsizing, moving from a house to an apartment, feels like downgrading. And that didn't feel good for me at all. Like that whole idea of downsizing and downgrading, yuck. So I've decided to call it freeing up. And that feels much more energizing. We're freeing up all the energy that used to go into maintaining a property and a garden into having a different way of living. And I've discovered since just a few weeks being in this apartment how little we actually need to live. We wear hardly any of the clothes I had before. So there's a lot of clothes not being used, a lot of dishes not being used, a lot of stuff not being used. And this kind of freeing up is very energizing. So we're not downsizing, we are freeing up. And I think there's going to be a reconstitution of the word retiring because that doesn't work for me either. I don't know what the solution is yet, but we'll come to that at some stage. All right. A lot of this experience of being in a chrysalis we might experience as uncertainty and not knowing. And I've still got plenty of uncertainty and not knowing with what's going on for me. This in between experience of no longer doing something or being something and not yet knowing something and doing something and being something. That is the chrysalis. It's not limbo. Limbo is like you got no path. You're not sure where you're going. It's similar to limbo, but it's more about a letting go, a dissolution, like the caterpillar into the chrysalis before the reemergence. That's what we're kind of experiencing here. And I found that we need to be guided by curiosity and questions and not answers. And I don't have anything definitive. I wanted to have the 5-step plan ready for you before I recorded this. It's not there. And this is incredibly unnerving because our culture rewards certainty and pathways and outcomes. And it just isn't there when we're going through a chrysalis kind of experience. So it's a little bit of a evolution and opening and emergence as opposed to the 5-step plan. And it's about allowing and not forcing things to come into being. So if that's you, if you're feeling this, here we go. There's some things that you might be experiencing. You might be saying, I'm losing my edge. I should be clearer now. I don't want, I can't even read my writing now. I don't want what used to drive me. Oh, there you go. I don't want what used to drive me. I'm good at this, but it's not me anymore. It's not mine anymore. It could be something that you're experiencing. Maybe you feel restless, flat, or quiet. Or maybe you're even saying to yourself, I cannot imagine myself doing this for the next 10 to 15 years. And that was certainly me. Middle of last year, I'm like, I can't keep doing this for 10 to 15 years. It doesn't light me up anymore. And by this, I mean the way that I was structuring my days and my work. Now, elements have stayed with me. I love doing my facilitation work around strategy and culture. Love that. I love writing the books and I love creating the podcast and contributing and connecting with listeners like you. In the chrysalis phase, there's 3 major losses, and you might be experiencing these. The loss of certainty, and it might be that goals that you used to set and do feel hollow now. Maybe it's a loss of identity. You might hold a role still, but it no longer holds you. You've outgrown it, or you are outgrowing it. Or maybe there you have a loss of external validation, where praise, promotions, and status don't really land the way that they used to. This is you. Well, you're kind of in the right place for the conversation that we're going to be having. The thing is, this is not about reinvention, like starting over and scrapping everything and having that sort of throw the old wife out and get the new wife in kind of midlife crisis shenanigans. It's not that. It's about reauthoring, and I love that as a concept, not reinventing, like not starting from scratch, reauthoring. It's about crafting a story that is meaningful and powerful for you, that allows you to emerge and still live a life that you love in whatever shape or form that is for you. You get to create the story. And one of the processes I did in my retreat with Maya Stanojovic-Andre recently, which was helpful in going through this chrysalis phase, was to write a new story about the past and write a new story about the future. It's incredibly powerful. We get to choose it. We get to live into it. So it's definitely something I'll be guiding people through over the coming weeks. When we're looking at the transitions, we're looking at from achievement to contribution. So that might be where you're sort of sitting, like you've climbed a lot of hills, you've ticked a lot of boxes, you've won a lot of prizes. What else? That contribution phase might be really important for you. Moving from proving yourself to stewarding the work, stewarding others into the future. Individual success is being replaced with collective impact. That kind of lights me up thinking about that. And we're dissolving ego strength into ethical strength. Who are we as leaders? What are we going to make a stand for? You might be experiencing a dip, low on energy, might be experiencing doubt and grief, withdrawal and solitude. I went through all of that, leaving our home in Canberra. When we first arrived in Newcastle to an empty apartment before our stuff arrived, I sobbed that first night. I'm like, it felt the place felt really small. And all I could do was think about the house that we'd left behind and our beautiful home there. And had we made a huge mistake? And so I just cried and cried myself to sleep, actually. It's pretty sad. And then the next day, our stuff arrived, and I was very busy unpacking boxes and trying to find places for everything and making decisions like, oh no, we don't need that. We don't need that. We don't need that. And then settling in, and kind of easing into that kind of grieving for what was, what had been, not regret so much as just acknowledging a time has passed, an event has passed, a phase of life has passed, and leaning into the unknown and uncertainty of what's next. What's next is pretty challenging. And for those of us who are later adults thinking about what does the next phase of my career look like, this is an incredibly important stage to explore. All right, what we need to do during this phase is to listen, not trying to problem solve or project manage our way through it, but to listen what those emotions are telling us and guiding us, and just to sit with them. So I didn't make grieving wrong. I just sat with it. And I'm not the only one to experience this. I know I have a sister-in-law. They've just sold their house, and she's already grieving the loss of her family home that they've been in for a long, long time. And I know she'll go through similar experiences as they settle and finally move in a few months. So the theme that we're going to explore over the next few weeks, this season, if you like, is the Chrysalis, a leadership transition lab. And you can settle in and listen to the podcast each week as we have a few interviews and some reflections around themes. Or you can join in on Substack. So I'm going to be posting notes, articles, and the recordings on Substack, which is basically a blogging platform if you haven't explored there. What I like about it is it gives us a place to have conversation. So you can actually reply and pose questions and discover comments and perspectives from others. I've been looking at which platform is the best for this, and there is no best platform, so I'm just picking one. I did think it was going to be Discord, but Discord I struggle to keep track of and read myself. So I'm like, I'm not really enjoying Discord in the communities that I'm part of, so why would I force other people into that? So Substack I do enjoy. So we're going to go and play in Substack. I'm treating everything as an experiment. Hopefully you'll join me there. There'll be a link in the show notes for you if you want to join us and have a conversation there. This will all be free. Part of the achiever part of me is like, should we monetize this? I'm like, oh God, that just feels like default again instead of by design. There will be opportunities down the track, and I'm letting those emerge if people want to go further with this, either in a coaching point of view or at a particular retreat. Those two things are lighting me up around this. I would love to work with people individually and in small, intimate settings to explore what's next for you. So that's all that's coming up. Let me tell you a little bit about, where did I put those notes here? The themes for the next 8 weeks. Next week, we have exploration of place with Richard Anderson, and he's a microbiologist and sci-fi writer, and we're talking about Mars and its impact on humanity now. So that's all to do with a different kind of humanity kind of transition, which I think will be fascinating. Then we've got Dan Pontefract, a Canadian author, and we're talking about The Future of Work is Gray, his latest book, and the aging workforce and what this means for us, the opportunities and challenges there. The following themes are around purpose, hope and meaning, belonging, transitions, living well, and identity. So those are kind of the broad brush themes that fit under this chrysalis experience. Big question is, what needs to dissolve before something new can emerge? So that's what's happening for me right now. What needs to dissolve before something new can emerge? And if you want to share what needs to dissolve for you in order for something new to emerge, pop on over to the Substack and drop us a note. Now, don't forget that the Olympus Dawn is on its Kickstarter, and it launches today as this comes out, and the Kickstarter goes for 2 weeks. But if you back the project in the next 48 hours, you get the first backer's badge, which is very exciting. Be part of the movement of bringing a new way of leading and living into the world and enjoy a good story at the same time. And now, as promised, I'm going to read a little excerpt from Olympus Dawn for you, the first chapter. So here we go. Olympus Dawn by Zoë Routh. That's me. Chapter 1. Mars? Mars sucks. It's far, dry as hell, and everything can kill you. But it sure is beautiful. Jonas Seaborn, Memoirs from Mars. Napoli Institute, Human Labs Laboratory, Victoria. Ping. Data packet received. Mars VES06. Decrypt. Dr. Victoria Tang fumbled for her mug. Hot chocolate sloshed over the rim. She froze. There it was. The data that confirmed proof of concept. She shook her head in amazement, hot chocolate spilling down her lab coat and across the keyboard. Damn it! She shoved the mug aside and pushed away from the desk, liquid dripping onto the floor. Her colleague's quiet patter ceased. She waved them off, not wanting to draw attention to her screen. Victoria looked around for something to mop up the spill. Finding nothing towel-like nearby, she reached for a scrap of paper. She wiped at the mess, eyes drawn to the report. This was the big breakthrough she'd been quietly plugging away at with her Doppelbot Martian twin. After months of persistent attempts to get human halves and the larger European Space Agency to listen to her project pitch, she'd gone rogue. Well, not completely, just a little, a side project. The bitterness at the stonewalling swelled again as she reached for her drink, pursing her lips against the edge of the mug. What remained of it was still too hot to drink. It frustrated Victoria to no end that the lead scientist thought her project might compromise the helium-3 reactor. Honestly, how ridiculous. The cartridge, the size of a suitcase, would easily run off the waste heat and electricity of the fusion reactor. But no. First things first, Victoria, the Chinese-Dutch governance team had chided. Stabilize the helium-3 power, secure a lava tube extension to the main base, build out the infrastructure. Then they'd get round to atmosphere. After all, there were no humans heading to Mars anytime soon. Earth was the priority with the helium-3 moon shipments. Yada yada. She exhaled, heart hammering. One suitcase cartridge, one waste heat tap, and Mars could breathe. Earth too. It wasn't the science they rejected. It was her. Or rather, it was Greg Johnson, that manipulative bastard who undermined her at every chance. He wanted to control the human hab's narrative and output. He wanted his name on the Mars project. She clutched the remnants of her hot chocolate while she stared at the CO2 reports from the red planet. Groggy from yet another late night, she yawned and rubbed her eyes with the heel of one hand while the other held the mug in front of her. The pit-a-pat of her colleagues' quiet work, studying charts and drawing sketches of habitat filtration systems, grew into low-grade white noise. Coupled with the artificial light turned to gentle ambient light, given the late hour, plus lack of windows, Victoria struggled to focus. It wasn't just fatigue. Having synced her Mars-based Doppelbot data packet with her brain-computer interface, she was jittery with excitement. Epiphany, she thought, connected to her AI ThinkLink, confirmed the data readings from the Martian cartridge. One cartridge suitcase with a scalability factor times 1,000 equals 21% O2 in a 50-meter dome within 24 hours, the ThinkLink projected. Looks like it worked, Victoria. Congratulations. Oh my God, Victoria said. The clickety-clack of keyboards ceased once more. You okay, Vicky? A round-faced sausage of a man jumped to his feet far more nimbly than Victoria would have thought possible for a man of his girth. He peered over his display screen, craning for a peek, old-school wire-rimmed glasses perched on an upturned nose. Victoria moved in front of her monitor, shielding it. Fine, thanks, Greg, Victoria muttered and returned to mopping at the mess with a scrap of paper. Just spilled my drink and... She paused to catch his gaze. It's Victoria, not Vicky. He held up a hand in apology and sat down again, with the ghost of a smirk flitting across his face. Turd ball, she thought. He's just trying to get a rise out of you. I know, damn it. And it worked. Victoria mopped up the dregs of the hot chocolate with another crumpled ball of paper and tossed it into the recycling basket. Wiping her fingers on her lab coat, she resumed her study of the report display. She clicked through a few screens to the video of the Mars dome her Doppelbot twin had erected out of sight of the main camera feeds. The reading scrolled. The CO2 catalyst ran spikes from 0.04% to 1% in 6 minutes, projected to 20% in 18 hours at scale. Historic. They'd taken the CO2-rich atmosphere of Mars and made oxygen, enough to create atmosphere in the dome with just one cartridge. Scale that up, and they could start tackling terraforming, breathable Mars air within a generation. This is Nobel Prize territory for sure. Don't get ahead of yourself, Victoria. Publish headline findings to the CEO? The AI asked. Forgiveness beats permission. Do it. Victoria then sent the video and reports directly to the CEO, Elena Fisher, and deleted her path files, just in case. She didn't want that puffed up little prick Greg Johnson finding the files and claiming ownership of her breakthrough. She sat back in her chair, mind whizzing with possibilities. She drained the hot chocolate, silently toasted her Doppelbot twin, and swallowed in sweet success. Okay, that's probably enough of Olympus Dawn, but that's sort of the opening scene, if you like. The stakes are high. There's this breakthrough technology that could terraform Earth and Mars. Who wants it? Well, guess. Guess who does? The CEO, Lincoln Ellison of Spaceward Bound. And he's going to do everything possible to get control of it. Enter the good guys to save the day. So the book is up on Kickstarter. Do make sure you drop over there and get yourself a copy. And you can binge the whole series if you like, because all the ebooks are on a special discounted bundle, as well as all the audiobooks. With the audiobooks, no, I did not narrate it myself. Way too hard. But what I did do is I did a full cast digital narration using 11 Labs Studio. Every character has a voice. There's 20 plus voices in this book. I should actually count them out and find out how many there are. And I reconstructed the text a little bit so you have a great listening experience. It's like audio drama. And I produced that not only for Olympus Dawn, the latest book, but also for Olympus Bound, that's book number 2, and Olympus Rising. The Olympus Project I did originally a couple years back with a human narrator at great expense, which is why I haven't done any that way since. And Terra Blanca Insurrection I did with a digital voice before 11 Labs got so good. So all those audiobooks are available and ebooks available at a really amazing price during the Kickstarter. All right, that's it from me. I would love to hear from you. Don't forget to drop on by to the Substack and let me know what you're thinking and feeling as you go through your Chrysalis experience. In the meantime, live with grace, lead in service, live well, lead well.